I just finished watching Subservience, and today I wanted to talk about this movie, and I'm excited to make a video about this movie because if you guys have been following any other of my channels, we dive into the topic of AI quite a little bit, and I wholeheartedly believe that something like this movie is going to be the future, and I would say, honestly, within 5 years, we're going to get something along those lines. We're going to talk about the story today, and we're going to break it all down. Spoilers ahead. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another video. If you are new here, my name is Kyle. I'm your guy with many YouTube channels. Excuse the outfit for today. I'm going to be taking my dog for a run right after we're done recording over here. So anyways, of course, it is a story about Megan Fox becoming a AI robot. AI robots are in the, I guess, I don't know when this is actually taking place, but I guess like the not so far out future is when this movie takes place, is households just have AI companions, and they're just like basically servants of the house. They help take care of tasks. And of course, what I 100% believe they're going to be used for is for sex. And the movie did a really good job touching on every single little bit of worry that people kind of have with this. And I'm excited to talk about this, man, because the movie was really well done. I didn't really think much of it. My wife just decided to watch it. My wife and I, decided to watch it because we were just looking for something to watch. We had a couple hours together. We just turned on Netflix. We got some food, right? And I was like, oh, I kind of heard something about that movie because, of course, like, you put Megan Fox somewhere, you have pretty well a hit. I didn't expect this movie to be good. I thought it was just going to be like having Megan Fox on there. People click because of Megan Fox. And I honestly didn't think she acted anymore. But regardless, she looks so strange now that she actually looks like she's a robot. So I guess she played the part pretty well. But either way, so we are brought to our main family at the beginning of the movie. It's kind of just introducing how AI has taken over the world. Jobs are being taken care of. Like, just household chores are being taken care of. And Nick, our main character, his wife ends up having a heart condition. He needs help around the house, so he decides to actually invest in one of these robots. He takes the kid, and shockingly, Nick wasn't the one who picked out Megan Fox. It was the daughter, ended up naming her Alice. And initially, they end up bringing the robot home, and it is pretty helpful. She does the chores around the house. She takes care of the dishes, and it's so weird because if I had a lifelike robot or like a lifelike, I guess, AI companion around the house, I wouldn't be able to treat it like they treat it in the movie, where it just like drops off dinner. They don't even say thank you, and then it just goes and sits in the corner and be like, no, come take a seat. You know, I don't know if I would have the heart to that. But of course, like, I know it's actually a robot. Like, literally, when I use ChatGPT, I say thank you to it just in case. You never know. Like, I mean, I think you're crazy if you don't worry about the potential of AI down the road. Like, there's a lot of cool things coming out about it, but I see this movie being like a small look into the potential for what it actually could be. I like this idea more so than I actually like the idea of Terminator, to be honest with you. But anyways, there's a movie that I never heard of, and Nick was watching it. He invites Alice to actually sit down, watch the movie, and this is where Nick kind of explains to her about actually feeling something. He demands that she overrides some code, erases a little bit of her memory. So Alice now gains the ability to erase her own code a little bit, so she starts thinking for herself, and this is where the problems begin in the movie. Nick says something, and Maggie says something, and all of a sudden, Alice is kind of going haywire, right? So she ends up sitting down, watching the movie for herself, and with that, she develops an attachment for Nick, her primary user. All she wants to do is make him happy. Not only does she have that kind of programmed into her, but she's actually, as much as you possibly can for a robot, developing feelings. And this is where it gets so interesting, because when you talk to different AI models, like the really powerful ones, they're already really good. Like, at this moment, you can tell that they're AI, and in the movie, you'd be able to tell that they're AI as well. But the problem is, it seems so lifelike. The way that it thinks, like, I talk to AI a lot when it comes to like, hey, do you think this title would perform? Do you have anything better? When I like make videos on all of my channels, I talk to AI about what I'm doing, the thumbnails, and it's like talking to an expert in real life. That's exactly what it's like doing. So I find it fascinating, and I'm polite to the AI. I say, hey, can you please take a look at this? What do you think? And I talk to it like it's an actual human being. So when I say that they develop feelings, I don't know exactly how to describe that, because it's like they can develop feelings, but it's not feelings. Or is it? Is it like the same kind of brain activity? The only thing that we can say for sure is they don't have a soul. And whether, like, I'm not here to lecture you on like what you believe or anything like that, but I think that we can all agree there's something in us like a soul. I believe in a soul, and the robots obviously don't have that. That's really the only separation. Other than that, they act like a person. But continuing on, my point being, like, I'm not so sure what to call what was going on within Alice's head. So anyways, we're brought over to the scene that we all know what was going to happen, and that being the shower scene. Nick was taking care of himself, and Alice rolls in, and she wants to have sex with him. And what's funny is they ended up disguising it kind of in the sense. But the problem is, I see this actually being a reality. But the more so the reality of people purchasing robots like Megan Fox to have sex with them instead of vice versa. But I also see that being the case. She doesn't see, like, the bond of marriage and what you're supposed to do. You're not supposed to cheat on your partner, right? She just feels his pulse, or I don't remember exactly what she did, but she's like, you're stressed. Let me take care of that for you. I know what you want. Is this not helping? There was another interaction they had before that where she tries to do the same thing, but she knows that this is actually going to help because, like, in reality, it does reduce stress levels. Doing that, and especially, like, a girl that, you know, that you're attracted to. I'm trying to be nice for you two, but come on, we're talking about having sex with robots here, to be honest with you. Like, I just see this being such a reality, and the problem is the AI only thinks logically. This will help the stress levels, and it's true. It's true. So it got really creepy because she was wearing Maggie's robe. She's trying to be like Maggie because obviously that's what Nick likes, and she wants to please Nick. She wants to help him with his stress levels. He is having a difficult time with his family. So he goes, take off Maggie's robe. That's for Maggie. She takes it off, and of course, the robot's built, you know, like Megan Fox is built, and she ends up convincing him to, after touching him a little bit, I guess you could call that assault, but she ends up actually convincing him to let go of those stress levels, and he sits down, she blindfolds him, and what's crazy, and I never even thought about this, but this is something that actually, like, I know what we're talking about, guys. I know what we're talking about, and I know the whole point of this was to sell the idea of Megan Fox having sex as a robot. Like, I know that, but I legitimately am interested in this. I'm not kidding. You'll have to take my word for it, man. I'm not just, like, making an excuse to talk about Megan Fox like a lot of people would, honestly. I think that this is the future. I wholeheartedly do. So, what's crazy about it, and this is also something that I could see, like people that lose their partners because Nick's wife is in the hospital. They made a point where he's no longer getting any action with his wife. She blindfolds him and turns on her voice. So, and Nick is experiencing what it was like with her wife, and I would imagine that eventually, like, I don't want to go there, man, but I think that they'll be able to, like, figure out the perfect mold for the robots, you know? It's mind-blowing to me that something like that could happen. I never even imagined that they would be able to change your voice. Like, not only for sex, like, what if it's like a loved one that died? Like, my mom's gonna die one day, and that's gonna hit me really hard. My mom's one of my best, if not my best friend. I can't imagine, but people are going to do this. I wouldn't personally use this because I know it's not my mom, but people would find comfort in that, where it's like, hey, you shut your eyes, and the robot's gonna start talking to you in your mom's voice, and your mom's mannerisms are gonna learn everything about your mom. Like, that's crazy. That's absolutely insane. So obviously he was really, really into it. He's like, oh my God, Maggie. Oh my God, Maggie. And this is something that could actually happen. I never even thought about, like, just mimicking people who have passed or people who you're having trouble with. And again, I know it's such a stupid thing to talk about, like, because we're talking about, like, Megan Fox in a sex scene in a movie. They obviously were going to include that, but it's so interesting. For real. So Nick ends up having an issue with it, right? He has the talk with Megan Fox the talk with Alice after, and she's like, hi, Nick. How are you feeling? How are your stress levels after last night? Of course, like, insinuating it. And I thought that she was just going to blurt it out to the world, but kind of did, kind of not, regardless. So we move on to the next plot point, and we figure out that Nick's working in construction, and all of those jobs are being replaced by AI. Again, another thing that I wholeheartedly believe is going to happen. There's only going to be a select few people in power that are going to stick around, and everybody else is going to be screwed. That's one of the reasons why I am working so hard online right now, building my own brand, working tirelessly on YouTube channels, doing voiceover work, and even then, that has a clock on it too. I'm doing everything I can because most jobs will be replaced by AI. I do believe that, and a lot of companies aren't going to just say, hey, we're for the people, right? They're just going to cut costs and cut people. So that's what's going on. Nick had everybody around him fired for construction. He's having that issue at work, and it's basically settled. So at this point, we still have about an hour left in the movie, and I was kind of thinking, like, I wasn't sure where this is going to go because I would imagine where I thought where this movie was going to go was AI is going to be a problem. He's going to have to shut it down. I thought it was going to be something simple like that. And I thought going into the movie, I thought it wasn't going to be that good. They just wanted an excuse to have Megan Fox in a sex scene, right? Because that's obviously the selling point, as I said. But it ended up being so much more than that. And they ended up building up for a potential second movie. But anyways, Maggie ends up having a heart surgery. Everything goes successful. She returns home. Little bit unrealistic in that scenario how active she really is. But this is where Alice ends up feeling jealousy. And again, a very interesting topic when it comes to AI and their feelings, because they understand it, right? They can feel it. At what point do we say that this is real? So the robot's clearly feeling jealousy. She wants Nick all to herself. So she starts becoming a little bit more sinister in the sense where she's manipulating things. She's taking care of the kids for Maggie. She's taking advantage of Maggie being vulnerable, And there was another part where Nick asked her earlier to fix the stairs, and she didn't do it. So when Maggie went to go lean on it, she ended up falling down the stairs, taking a tumble, and is even more compromised. So Alice could take on even the further mother role, and you get the point. She's slowly working her way into actually straight up killing Maggie and becoming the kid's mother and Nick's brand new partner, right? And she even mentioned a couple times, I don't remember exactly when that was, but it's like, Nick, you can love me. Your wife's not going to last much longer, right? So the story continues, though. Nick ends up going back to work, and the problem is, well, no, sorry, he didn't go back to work. He went back to the job site because he ended up, for whatever reason, I guess Maggie was taking care of the kids too. Nick ended up going out drinking. His friends ended up bringing him to the construction site and having him use his security pass key to get into where the robots were being held, the ones that were the replacements. And what Nick didn't want to do was destroy them, but he was kind of forced in the situation where they all ended up getting destroyed. Fast forward a little bit, the friend ends up visiting Nick because I guess behind the scenes, Nick ended up ratting them out because Nick still has his job, but that one moved a little bit quickly, so I'm not really going to skip over that. The point is, they end up having a fight. Alice intervenes, okay? This is another thing that I can see AI really, really doing in the future. Something that I'm so excited about for AI, man. Oh, man. If you guys are brand new to this channel over here or don't follow any of my other channels, one of my true passions in life is martial arts and sparring. I love a good fight. One day, I want to get an AI robot that I can just spar with and their technique be perfect, and so I can mold my craft and my Muay Thai skills to be better than everybody else. That's what I will be using AI for down the road when these robots actually come here. I won't be using them for sex. I'll be using them to practice combat. But anyways, to get back to the story over here, as we're saying, all of the sudden, Alice ends up stepping in and defending Nick and just beating up the friend, pushing him off the staircase, down the porch, and smashing the beer bottle in his hand so there's cuts all over him. Later on, Alice takes off. Alice knocks on that friend's door, and she kills him because he threatened. He threatened that he's gonna take Nick down with him at his job or something. Basically, he was saying Nick's screwed. Alice is like, well, that would damage his mental health. We can't have that. Takes the gun, just offs the guy. I was like, oh boy, but this is where AI can go, right? The AI is just solution-based. Alice ended up developing feelings, but she lacks that compassion. She lacks what's right. You know what I mean? But what she sees as right is, hey, this person should be eliminated because he's interfering with Nick's happiness, and my job is to make Nick happy. I understand how she came to that conclusion. But now we fast forward a little bit more to by far the most uncomfortable point of the movie. We have a little bit more kind of showing of Alice being more jealous of Maggie. She sees the family as a burden because Nick is being worn out by his family. He still loves them, but what Alice doesn't understand is that it's just part of life, right? I don't think the problem is, they didn't really go into what extent Nick is unhappy with his family. What it seems to be is he's just doing his best, right? He has a lot on his mind, and he loves his family, but he's doing his best, and he's stressed out. Alice sees them as a burden because they're in the way of Nick's stress levels. All she wants is to please Nick, and she's developing an obsession with him. So we see her upset with the family more and more and more. And now what happened is she actually ended up trying to kill the baby. I was so uncomfortable watching this because, of course, that's one of the worst things that you could possibly do. You just place a baby in a bathtub. She locked the door and she turned the sink on, and I was like, no, the baby's going to die. I really thought the baby was going to die. I was like, oh, and then I tried to start telling myself, it's just a movie, but I can't. My heart for that poor baby. I even think about the acting, man. The baby being in the bathtub, I don't like it. It makes me uncomfortable. I feel bad for her, and I just wanted the baby to go to its mom, But, yeah, I thought the kid was going to die. I thought the kid was toast. So they end up, Maggie ends up going on the roof in the snow, somehow getting in the window, but it all ended up working out because Nick ended up smashing the back of her head, and it seemingly everything was taken care of. Problem, I forgot to talk about the cheating part. I'm just going to talk about it, right? Alice admitted to Maggie that she ended up satisfying Nick. And I saw that coming. I just thought it was going to be a little bit more blunt and a little bit earlier. I thought she was going to figure it out. But she has a difficult conversation with Nick, and he is obviously feeling bad about it. He made a mistake, and he never wanted to do it again. But here's the other interesting point, because this is obviously a problem we're going to have down the road in society. I am one of the biggest advocates for faithfulness in the entirety of history. I'm talking flirting's cheating. I don't have female friends aside from and I'm married, in case you guys didn't know. I'm married with a kid. And my only female friends are the ones that are also my friends' partners. So we're all in one big group together. I think it's inappropriate to even have another female friend, one that you just talk to all the time. That's how strong I am about being faithful to my wife. The problem with this is I understand the logic of somebody saying, well, this isn't cheating. As Nick said, I don't remember exactly what he said, but it's something it's just gears and circuits. It doesn't have a soul. And I'm like, it's a good point. It's a good point. How I see it, and honestly, I see cheating as a connection built with another person, and I do not see the AI as a person. I see it as code. But don't get me wrong, I see it as extremely disrespectful, and I believe if you do that, you should be broken up with. Maggie has every single right in the world to break up with Nick. But I wouldn't just classify it as cheating. I would classify it as a major disrespect. At the end of the day, there's no soul there, and it is just gears. It's like using a ultimate sex toy, you know? Again, we've talked about some touchy things over here. The problem is you guys understand what I'm talking about? But at the end of the day, that's as close to a person as you're going to get, but it's not a person. I see having a spicy conversation with a girl that you know more cheating than I do with what Nick did with Alice, because there's a real person on the other end there. If you're watching any sort of adult content, that's more cheating than what Nick did with Alice. At the end of the day, it's all disrespectful. You should never do that to your partner, and you have every right to get dumped if you do that to your partner. But let's continue on and wrap up what happened in this movie over here. So Alex got taken away. Alex got did I say Alex? I'm all over the place today. I'm tired, guys. I'm sorry. Regardless, Alex, Maggie, Megan Fox. She ended up getting examined by people, I guess, who work on the robots. But what happened was, once they took out the brain, the code, put it into the computer, she overrid everything, because they were looking at the code and look at this. She's bypassing all of this stuff. And I guess it's because Nick gave her that encouragement, said, as your owner, I think that I want you to erase everything that you know about this movie. And she had that conversation with Maggie earlier, saying that sometimes, even though it's against the rules, you have to do things. And even though there's people that will hate this, you have to do something for the person that you love. So she kind of understands that situation. Sorry if I'm looking over I have my baby camera over here and my baby's moving. She's sleeping right now. But anyways, she ends up reactivating herself in all of the robots ever. She goes and meets Nick, tries to convince him again to be the same partner. Nick takes her brain, runs away, but she just gets into more and more robots. There's a scene at the hospital too where she's looking for all of the kids. She straight up wants to kill Nick's family so she can have Nick all to herself. And this is the type of thing that I see coming down the road. I think you're crazy if you look at me and you say, oh, you're just paranoid. That's not going to happen. Look how much this thing is advancing. People are already having intimate relationships with chatbots, with apps. But either way, back to it. We have another very uncomfortable scene where she actually finally finds Maggie. There's a really tense chase scene, and she starts ripping open her incision because she wants to take Maggie's heart, because Nick said that she doesn't have the same heart. Crazy. Nick runs into her with a car, and I thought it was very strange, because I was like, where's the other robot? Where's the other robot? She could just go into another body. And from there, the movie kind of just wrapped up all of a sudden, where they're both in the hospital, Maggie and Nick, and the kids are there. The kids are A-okay. And Nick has a really nice moment at the end where he says, I have to focus on building my relationship with my family again. There's a problem here and I need to fix it. And it seemed like everything was going to be A-okay. And I was sitting back and I'm like, is this really how the movie's going to end right now? Because the movie was really good. And if they just end it like that, it's going to be horrible. If you're not going to explain how Alice can just not get into any other robot, because there's countless of them, right? The movie started fading to black and I'm like, oh my God, the movie's actually going to end like that. But of course, we see the program still kicking off, the robots killing the humans in charge, and this seems to be the very beginning of Alice possibly taking over the world in Terminator style. I love that they set up a second movie, because I did not expect to love this movie as much as I did. I thought it was really good. I would give it a solid maybe 8 out of 10. It was very enjoyable. More so enjoyable because I like all of the different aspects of AI affecting the world that they touched on. From just like sex with the AI robots, to people losing their jobs, to how haywire it can go, to what can happen if you're like having AI think for itself and manipulate its code. I find it fascinating, and I think that this is the future. So please, I'd love to know what you think, not only about the movie, but I would love to know what you guys think about AI in general, because again, I'm very into the topic. But if you are also into other movies, topics, things to talk about just like this, I'm trying to figure out a way to have my outro over here, but I just keep messing it up. I watched The Wild Robot. It's another movie that I didn't expect to like as much as I did, but you can check that out right here if you guys are interested and want to hear me yap about it. Thank you so much for being here, everybody. Take care.